Greetings. My name is Gerard, editor-in-chief of Filipino Soul, and welcome back to the history of S.G.I.B magazine, aka Filipino Soul magazine, I guess. There are a couple of things I forgot to mention. One major thing I wanted to mention when I spoke about when I launched the magazine on the first part one, where I said the name that Vonney, Hilton, Sweeney gave me, his name was Harry Wrangler. So of course, my not knowing who he is, or whatever, such and such, and he opened the doors by giving me Craig Miller's name. That was again gave me a smorgasbord of artists who were available for interview, touring, and new projects dropping. And I'm in Cebu, Philippines. Of course, you can hear when I wake up in the morning, roosters crowing, which is it can be a nice thing, but it also can be an annoying thing. But one time I yelled out, "Cockadoodle, shut the fuck up!" And they got quiet. So anyway, but getting back to Harry Wrangler. One day I was sitting down and I was watching the doo-wop shows, on PBS. And when it was off, the first name I saw was produced by Harry Wrangler. So Vonney had given me a name, Harry Wrangler, who was so powerful in the industry that it opened up the doors for me. So I wanted to mention, give you Harry Wrangler's full pedigree, that when Vonney gave me a name to call, that was the name who she had given me. Now, right now, we're looking at another issue of S.G.I.B magazine. This magazine it says "We Go Funk" in this issue. I covered all genres of music when I did my magazine. There were no whole bar of what I would do, what I would put in it. My magazine, I had evaluated on Madison Avenue by Yvonne Quirk. She was president of the NAACP. So I took them my magazine and showed them my magazine, and they flipped through the pages, and they said, "Your magazine is a disaster." I said, "I beg your pardon?" They said, "Yeah, who are you targeting? You're not targeting the Geritol crowd. You're not targeting the hip-hop crowd. You're not targeting health. Who are you targeting? Your magazine has to target." And I sat back and I told them, I disagree. I said, today we live in an age of social media. Social media does not target. Social media is all over the place. You can click one day sports, and the next day click on uprising in Kenya, or you can watch kittens, and then you can watch the beheading of Pearl. So it doesn't target. My magazine, I wanted it to be a product that you can put on the kitchen table, and there'll be something in there for everyone to find of interest. And that's how I maintain it today. There's something that everybody of interest would find, whether it be an article on somebody, whether it be pictures or what have you. Now, I didn't fully finish the description of Hip Hop Urban Raw, The Truth, a photographer's magazine. I got to the truth part, so this way you know it was with Vonney and the Godfather Soul, Mr. James Brown. But a photographer magazine, because that's all I am. I am a photographer who has outgrown his box. A mediocre photographer at that. And I have to say that because my color instructor, Mr. Nevichk, he was a German photographer. He did brochures and all that stuff of locations all over the world. And when I was working at Ford Motor Company on the assembly line. I was driving a taxi and I was going to school. No, I'm not Jamaican. For those of you who know what I mean by that, God bless you. But anyway, I was so tired that after I finished my printing project, I sat on the table with the enlarger and I put my head against the enlarger, and I slept. I fell asleep. And he walked in and I popped him. He said, no. Sleep, Gerard. You can always be a mediocre photographer. And that's all I ever claimed to be, a mediocre photographer. I admire some of the photography that some photographers are able to do. Me, I'm a publicist. Just need one picture. That's all I need, one picture. Didn't read no manuals. Didn't read a whole lot of technical. Just click, 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 and got the shot. So anyway, with that being said, Hip Hop Urban Raw, the Truth of Photographers magazine. This was We Go Funk. I had the Nappy headband. This is a Nappy headband that were burning up in Long Island. They were funk. George Clinton, everybody. I mean, you talking about funk? You're talking about Zach. That's Zach. They're funk. Also, Prez. Prez was played with Prince. Each one of the Eric Kelly. He's one of my Facebook friends. Each one of them have been successful. They are successful. They still playing to this day. They may not be. I think Zach probably moved away. I think he's in Pennsylvania or somewhere like that. But anyway, I also interviewed Bootsy Collins. Bootsy Collins, I got him in the magazine when I covered the Hip Hop Honor Awards. And I don't know where it was, Los Angeles, I don't know. But I got him. Also, this one also had introducing the Funky Pacific Northwest Sound with Norman Sylvester and the Boogie Cats. So this issue had Norman Sylvester and the Boogie Cats in this issue, who I spoke about when I spoke about Reggie Houston, about the Pacific Northwest Sound. So yeah, this one had that. So this was the issue with Norman Sylvester also being into it. And if you Google the Boogie Cats, you hear what I'm talking about when I talk about the Pacific Northwest Sound. This next issue here, this was the first issue that I theoretically had two different covers. This is G-Unit. If you don't know who G-Unit is, a G-Unit was with 50 Cent. When 50 Cent came out, these were his hype men. These are his other two artists. Warner Brothers had contacted me and asked me if I wanted to interview Lloyd Banks and Young Buck. So let's see if we cut that on the roosters when they start back up. It's beautiful out. Not knowing who Lloyd Banks and Young Buck was, I said, okay, can I get back with you? I said, sure. So I turned to Burl, and Burl, I told you who she was in the first issue. I said, Burl, I just got a call from Warner Brothers, want to know if I want to interview Lloyd Banks and Young Buck. I don't know who they are. She said, Gerard, you don't know who Lloyd Banks and Young Buck are? I said, no. She said, that's G-Unit. I said, G-Unit? But, I called her back, yeah, sure, I want to interview G-Unit, one of those type of things. Now, whenever I went on high-profile interviews, I always looked around to see who would benefit from the exposure of meeting someone of that caliber to hopefully pick themselves up, give some inspiration to, and pay me money. So, Eric had some artists who he was promoting, and I said, okay, I'll bring your artists along. And when we walked into the room, when I got there directly to a room, it was this guy sitting in a chair. He was just sitting in a chair, feet kicked up and just sitting there. And so I'm telling Eric, and then when they walked in, I said, look, when Young Buck walks in, I said, I'm going to interview him. I'm going to take some pictures of him, and then you guys can say what you want to say to him and talk to him. I'll introduce you to him. So they said, okay. So I said, oh, excuse me, my brother. I didn't mean to have my back to you. My name is Gerard. He says, I'm Young Buck. I said, what? It was so funny. I didn't even know who he looked like, and he was sitting there all the time. Thank God. See, thank God you never say anything bad about anybody, because you never know, who might be listening. Which brings me to my Facebook. And each one of you had gotten, when you became my friend, it said, welcome aboard. And I go through my spiel. About my Facebook being for my daughters, my Facebook being for my entertainment friends. My Facebook is about positive and growth. And if you're cool with that, I will always love you more. Now, with that being said, if you come on my Facebook, on my page, and want to talk negative or something like this or whatever, you're going against the grain, because that's not what it's about. my Facebook is not the whole gripe to bitch and all that stuff like that. It's not about that. I don't put very much. I don't put on any personal stuff, you know, or on Facebook. So those of you who are on my Facebook, please consider what you post, and maybe what you post, don't let it be out of, I don't know, through negativity. Enough said. So anyway, so the reason this is Sara Raya's group called 2PIR, who I spoke to you about before. But the reason this has two covers, not only is the two of them, but Young Buck is black, and because it's Spanish, Lloyd Banks is Spanish. So I said, oh wow, it was great. It was great. You know, I put Lloyd Banks on the Spanish side and Young Buck on the black side. So it worked out real well. So I also had a group here called De Soul. They were a Latin group that I had on the magazine. I wanted to put more Latin artists in there too as well, so I put them in there too. And let me see, of course, Barbershop, and who else? I can't see that. Oh, Call My Lawyer, which is for prepaid lawyers. So anyway, prepaid legal. But this is with this cover, and that's why this cover has two different covers, because every time they always have the same cover. But this was the time that I separated it. Now, one thing I wanted to point out to you, on each magazine, it says, this is a free publication. Support is $4. Because, you know, it's like, you want to support the magazine? Okay, yes, I'll accept your donation. If you don't want to support it, it's fine too. Here's the magazine, it's for you. It's the same thing on my Filipino Soul magazine. The same thing. You know, for the New York, for the American side, it says this is a free publication. Support is $4. Support is $4, and that be said. Also, I have on the magazine. Let me see if this one. This one says Parents Advisory. Inspirational contents, because that's what is the magazine inspiration. Now this is the cover that's that's getting me a lot of flack here in the Philippines, you know, because of this cover of the magazine. They look at this magazine and they think it's sex, girls, whatever, and it's not. It's about a photographer. It's about a photographer who I truly admire. His name is Jay Lingo. And I'm going to tell you, Jay Lingo had a way of photographing girls that was like, wow, I wish I could do that. But Jay Lingo had a style about him. You know what I'm saying? So, but when in the Philippines, when they see this magazine, the cover of this one, because I have it on my promotional flyer. Matter of fact, I was at an event. I'm not going to say what it was here in the Philippines. The Rotary, but the magazine was on everybody's desk. They looked through it, they liked it, until someone saw that picture, and next thing you know, they started taking my magazines back. So I asked, what's up? They said, this picture. I said, oh, okay. But anyway, that was that. So this says, on assignment with freelance publicity photographer Jay Lingo, from models to superstars, a shooter for all reasons, for all seasons. A shooter is what is known as a photographer, and Jay Lingo, matter of fact, when I was in Las Vegas, he was shooting for this guy who was in porn, and he got flown in to Las Vegas to shoot for him and all that stuff. But an interesting thing about photographers are very protective over their sources and their accesses. Case in point, this other photographer, I can't remember his name, he shoots for Source and all that stuff and what have you. I forgot who it was he was interviewing. He was interviewing some big hip hop artist, and I was outside and I said, "Yo man, get me in." And he said no. I think it was 50 cents. It was 50 cents. Let me take a picture. He said no. And so I said, okay, cool. So of course I had access to in front of the stage and of the artists, and we had press badge. You didn't have the press badge, you were not getting in. So I was in. So he was on the gate. Give me a pass. Give me a pass. I said, oh really? No. no. You know what I'm saying? See, God don't like ugly. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's good to pull someone up as to hold them down. So anyway, the reason I was telling that story, because when Jay Lingo came to Las Vegas and doing the porn convention, it was the porn convention, and so I said, Jay, get me in there. I picked him up at the airport, or took him where he got to go, and blah 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 blah. But then of course, when it came time for shoot, oh man, I can't get you in. Oh man, which is bull crap. I know how the business works, but he was so protective over his resources that he did not want to take the chance of my gaining additional resources and contact through that event, and it was a shame. But Jay Lingo was a cool guy, a cool photographer. And this one here, I was in Los Angeles, and this is on assignment in Producer's Corner. I have DJ Stealth. If you don't know who DJ Stealth is, you need to Google him, because he was one of the producers who were with Eazy-E and all that stuff in the studio, doing his thing. And also this one had don't know him. Okay, don't know him, don't panic. You damn sure heard of the music from Eazy-E to Gwen Stefani. DJ Stealth is in the house. So he's done music from Eazy-E to Gwen Stefani. And also there, I got to interview some of the pioneers of gangster rap. I also interviewed the Best of the West, Roll Call with Kocaine, Money B, and Above the Law. Now, it's a big coup for me to be able to interview these artists. It's a damn shame I didn't know more about them before I interviewed them. I was the Muscular Dystrophy sports annual convention, where they had all the New York sports teams, the Jets, the Giants, from wrestling, from different states, different teams. They would all come to support the Muscular Dystrophy, and I was the official photographer. That means when they came in, they would say Gerard, him, go to Gerard, him, and I would take the pictures of them with the children. Some of them put their Super Bowl rings on their finger, and etc. One year, Derek Jeter got auctioned off to play 2 hours with someone's son for $5,000. So they auctioned to, for that one, I think it was 1 hour, 2 hours with Derek Jeter, just to kind of show you the caliber of that event. But it would have been a sports photographer's dream. You hear me? A dream, to be where I was. And again, I'm not in the sports, so I don't know these guys. I don't know their records. I don't know anything. But I tell you what, one of the coolest cats I ever met in the sports was oh my God, I see his face. John Starks. John Starks, was very, when he met somebody, he said, hello, my name is John Starks. And he would shake your hand and look at you. And I said, wow, John Starks. I don't know if he was with the Knicks or he was with Michael Jordan. I think he was with the Knicks. But anyway, each year I would see him, and each year him and I would talk and all that stuff. And him and I became friends on that circuit, so. But John Starks was a very classy guy. So big ups to John Starks. And here again it says Parental Advisory, Inspirational Contents. The magazine that goes both ways. That was the slogan. And you can see this is where I had changed the magazine logo, where the logo was just musical notes. But then because I changed the region, I had the graphic artist put from Long Island to New York City, and the bridges and all that stuff in between. Kind of similar to what I've done with Filipino Soul, and I'll tell you that when we get to it. Now, this one is here, just a little blurred. This is my road dog here, Alizé. Alizé and I go back. I met her when I covered an event for Seagum Seven's Gin, where they were giving $1 million um, uh, to 100 black men, and it had Mystical, Jagged Edge, and Jaheim. That's when I met Jaheim's manager, and I later got pulled on to quite a few events with Jaheim. And I took a picture of Alizé with a few models sitting on the lap of Jaheim or Mystical. Anyway, that's when I met her. I later bumped into her again when I covered the Jets' Thanksgiving turkey give out on Long Island. So we met again. So I said, this is destined. So her and I, she was my girl, not only girl in the arm, but she helped me in a lot of things as far as working the camera. She was my eye candy, and I took her around and she met a lot of the entertainers and artists and photographed her with them and everything. So Alizé, I really have to say, she also taught me a hard lesson when I was in Las Vegas. She had to put her foot down. I love her for that. I love you. This is my Quasian model. She was a girl who just beautiful. Quasian. I mean, just beautiful. What more can I say? But the artist you see her with, his name is Tony Yayo. Tony Yayo was part of G Unit. He had went to prison, and he was just released. And the name of the column was On Assignment with Tony Yayo, Thoughts of a Predicate Felon. And he talked about the industry and etc. like that. So that was kind of cool on that. On the red carpet at the Hip Hop Building Award, and I had writers from different parts of the country right in Simeon. I can't read because this is kind of resonated, so you won't be able to see. I can't see it clearly. But Alizé, big ups to you, Alizé. This was an article. This is the article with Young Buck on the cover. I spoke about Young Buck. This is where this young lady here. I'm going to speak her name this time because she don't exist anymore for what she did to me in Las Vegas, and I'll leave it at that. This is Valerie McConnell, who I let her write a column in a magazine called Best of the West. Now, I met Valerie. And Valerie was she was part of the pre-Grammy party circuit. She was always interviewing, and that's how her and I kind of met with Peter Armand. She was working for him. She was a Miss Mississippi Beauty Queen or something like that. I lived with her. I know what it's like living with a sister. Every morning, I wake up. Gerard, you want some of this? I told her, is this what it's like living with a sister? But we had good times until Floyd Mayweather's gym bums, got involved in it. And we used to pray every morning, have breakfast together. When they came in, of course that wasn't thug enough, that wasn't cool, that wasn't black enough. So it changed the whole dynamics and atmosphere there. But because of the stuff that she did, she was later became part of the Don King entourage. Don King, because she was heavy in the sports. Don King had backed the project that they were working on, and she just kept going. She's heavily involved in Snoop Dogg camp and a lot of other things of that nature. But I won't speak her name again. I'm only speaking this one because I cannot take away the contribution she provided to this magazine called The Best of the West with Valerie McConnell. Of course, she brought a lot. Matter of fact, she introduced me to Marcus Miller, who Marcus Miller is the man. Marcus Miller was the one who got me on that Las Vegas stage with Kocaine and all those guys there, Above the Law and etc. Money Being. Matter of fact, Marcus had made arrangements for Snoop Dogg's opening group stay at our place. When Valerie would come to New York during Fashion Week, she would stay at mine and Tatiana's place, and Snoop Dogg's opening act needed a place to stay and needed someone to drive them to Washington, so they came and stayed at our place, and I drove them to Washington. You know, I unfortunately, they were more interested in getting their money than my seeing Snoop Dogg's show. So I spent a lot of time at the supermarket waiting for the money to be sent to put in these guys' pockets because so they can continue on with the tour. So the closest I got to meeting Snoop Dogg was meeting his brother. You know, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. You know, so I never really actually met Snoop Dogg. You know, I met his brother. You know what I'm saying? And those of you who know his brother know his brother. You know, but they came and they stayed with me. Okay. Okay, this is one of the models who I talked about who was a stripper in the club called Stonehenge. Now, in this article, before I tell you more, this article has AZ chilling. Why press kit is so important, one-on-one with you, I guess. Now, I speak about press kits, you know, because, you know, if you're an artist in this industry, I don't care if it's acting, I don't care if it's singing, I don't care if it's dancing, you need a press kit. You know, a hardcover press kit, you know, because, you know, internet is fine, but, you know, if someone, it has to take someone extraordinary to drag the man with the money to say, hey, look at this kid. But if you said a press kit, I get press kits. In fact, I made a commitment. I would print whoever. We had a column where Burl would rate their CDs, you know, she knew music. And let me see. Okay. And so I would get press kits, and I told them, if you send me in your press kit, I would put you in a magazine, and that's what I do. I did. A press kit consists of photo, a CD, and a bio about yourself, your work, and etc. And this one here, I also interviewed. I'm gonna say Brown. Maxine Brown. Maxine Brown was the woman back in the day, and I got to interview her. And she also came to my S.G.I.B Help Make a Dream Come True Awards that I held each year, and I gave her a Lifetime Achievement Award. So Maxine Brown was in this. I can't see very much, and I'm not going to show you to do that. Okay, we're going to stop right here. I'm going to do another one. I wanted to tell you, a lot of people, someone asked me, what does FUBU mean? FUBU. What does FUBU mean? And I know we get to that generation where a lot of them probably don't know this by the shirt because they think it's cool. FUBU stands for Us, By Us. There was about 5 brothers who put FUBU together. And matter of fact, when I did an event in Wine Dance, FUBU gave me some clothes to give to the children, jackets and everything. In fact, I have one here that I had embroidered with a lot of glitter and stuff on. I can't wear it here, you know. But anyway, L'Oreal Cosmetic must have given me over $2,000 worth of cosmetics to hand out to cologne and all that stuff to hand out to the kids and what have you, under the condition that I would not use their name. Go figure. You know, Wine Dance and a predominantly black community, you know, who breaking a record either for AIDS or something like that, but they didn't want to be mentioned as a contributor to the event. Oh well. This is Gerard, editor-in-chief of Filipino Soul Magazine, aka S.G.I.B magazine. It stands for Soldiers God Intends to Believe That. And everyone should be soldiering for something, a dream, a goal, an idea, a train of thought, something. And if you haven't got a dream, a goal, an idea, a train of thought, don't worry about it. Do what I used to do. Get as much you can, as fast as you can, and go home. I'll always love you more. And if you're lucky enough to have a woman like Ollie Woodson, former lead Temptation, would sing, treat her like a lady. And I'll be right back.